Hello, I'm Frank McShane with Square Peg Consulting at the Whiteboard. I'm a supply chain cash guide, and these are the components of the business-to-business supply chain as I see it. And there are opportunities to generate more cash in every part of this process. Let me show you what I mean. Hello. In today's session, in our journey moving from a cost to a cash generation perspective, we're going to take a look at how we expand our focus on results in order to generate more cash. And this starts in the planning process of our B2B supply chain framework, but it really cascades through the whole framework. So it's an important one to keep in mind. Often in a narrow focus, which is really generated looking more at cost, that tends to be our focus. How do we reduce cost? How do we get more efficient? How do we lower purchase prices? How do we look at our margin, our sales margin percents? And so those are important. I'm not trying to tell you those aren't important things, but they're not really enough to help you generate more cash. So you've got to expand your focus a little bit. So rather than cost, we're looking at contribution. So what's the dollars, not percent but contribution dollars left over at the end of a transaction, of a sales transaction. And over a period of time too. So looking across a year, which customers, products, services generate the highest level of contribution dollars. We're going to be looking at productivity instead of just efficiency. And the difference is efficiency is kind of like doing things right? Correctly, according to the procedures, within the expected time to produce something or deliver a service. Whereas productivity also takes into account, is it the right thing to do? And are we doing it not only efficiently, but consistently? Are we doing it most of the time? So if efficiency is doing things right, productivity is doing the right things right more often. That's what's going to generate more cash. We want to know, instead of purchase price, we want to know what's the purchase return. What do we get for what we're paying for? Not just the lowest price. That may not be the biggest return. This happens a lot in subbing out work where the contractor's hourly rate is higher than our internal hourly pay. And so we make a decision to keep it internally. But the outside group might be able to do it a lot faster and do it better, higher quality, one time through, as opposed to our internal guys. Because they have the skills, that's their focus, they get it done right. So the return is higher even though the cost is higher per hour. And instead of margin percent, like I said, we're really looking at contribution dollars. So I've seen a number of sales organizations, they get enamored with high margin products. But it's really margin times volume that generates the cash. And so we might have a high margin percent product or service. There's not much volume, therefore not a lot of contribution. And as I mentioned earlier, we want to be looking at, are we working with the right customers? And are they the right products and or services that we're dealing with that are really going to generate a higher return? And if you're efficient, if you get more efficient on a low return product or a low return customer, that may not necessarily be a gain. If your efficiency stays the same and you generate more business with the right customers, like our A customers here that generate most of the contribution, or the right products, you're going to gain more cash. And that's the goal. We're after more cash, not reduce cost. So those are the kind of ways you can expand your focus. In addition to these things, which are good, important stuff, we got to be looking at these things over here to really have the impact on our business, generate more cash, make it a more sustainable, successful business.